So welcome to the Secrets of the Mind in Uncertain Times. And I think actually that is completely an understatement. These are not uncertain times, they're really unprecedented times. This is what we're going to talk about. The subconscious mind likes the familiar. That's how it keeps you safe. So things that are usually familiar or done on autopilot, like going to the store, are now having to be done by the conscious mind. And this can explain why we get restless and, stressed out and things like that. And so for me, it also reminded me of grief. And I had just lost my father in October. And I won't say it comes anywhere near close to that, but it had that same feeling. I think a lot of us not only grieve for ourselves, but certainly for the people around the world that are directly really impacted by the COVID-19 virus. So it really gave me a time to kind of go, okay, step back, self-care. But the thing I did is I asked myself, who do I want to be in 60 to 90 days when this kind of lifts? And I think a lot of you, I could just tell, have this mindset of this is an opportunity. Yes, there's a lot of tragedy and uncertainty, but we have the power to really transform ourselves. And that's what this presentation is all about. It's giving you more information to do that. So a saying you may have seen from a long time ago, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So truly are the beliefs set the limits to what our mind can achieve or what we achieve in our life. And 12 years ago, I named my company Your Beliefs Matter. Because especially at that time, there was lower awareness of how important our beliefs are. They not only create our reality, but they feed the collective unconscious. And we'll talk more about that. So what we're going to learn today or discuss are 3 secrets to the mind. One is that, I don't think you, big surprise, is beliefs create your reality, and the power of the placebo and the less well-known nocebo effect. Number 2, subconscious mind is controlling your life. Number 3, you can reprogram your subconscious mind actually rather quickly. And then we're going to do an exercise together. And during this time frame, because I can't teach PSYCH-K, I actually put together an online program, which I'm really excited about. And you're going to experience a taste of that. So how to create this whole brain state. And then we're going to do these paradigm shifting questions. So, and I'll guide you through. So you may want to have a piece of paper, pen nearby. And then I hope it's okay. I'd love to share this new program with you. And we'll have some Q&A. We'll actually have it in the middle, and then some final thoughts. So Teresa already mentioned that I founded Your Beliefs Matter in 2006. That was after I left the corporate world. I was 20 years at Hewlett-Packard. I managed the US consumer and wholesale business in the end, and loved the company 17 years until the culture changed. And then it just broke my heart. And there was so much stress internally. I ended up with stomach issues and had all kinds of adrenal exhaustion. So I actually laid myself off. I was supposed to lay off a bunch of people, and instead I walked to my boss's cubicle and said, I'd like you to put me on the list. And then I went on a journey to heal myself. And that's where I really dove into a lot of spiritual stuff, a lot of psychology things, because I had some serious issues and the medical world had really let me down. And I'll talk about that later. So that's how I ended up becoming a PSYCH-K instructor, was through that journey. And so I coached people all around the world with all kinds of situations, whether it's stage 4 cancer, real serious depression, or just should I have a baby or not, kind of helping, and in those cases, the beliefs make a big difference. So if you unconsciously have beliefs that, hey, I'm going to be a mother just like mine was and not very good, that creates our reality. So again, the subconscious kind of holds that secret. And the other thing I just said, I love to scuba dive with sharks. So kind of diving into just to ground us in some, little belief factoids. So beliefs are conclusions or truths that are derived from information and or experiences. people often get confused with beliefs with facts. And I worked for 2 years, about 8 years ago. I'd go down for 6 weeks, worked in Australia as a consultant, bringing this mindset in. And it was really amazing how in the corporate world, beliefs are just taken as facts. But they're not. They're truly what we hold to be true. And they are very powerful. And of course, we can upgrade those beliefs and create new possibilities. So the really important point to know about our beliefs, how we get them, is that we get this massive download in the first 6 to 7 years. This is required to survive and adapt in our environment. So we literally get unedited from our parents, our environment around us, our society and culture. And that's why, you know, years later, someone might say, hey, you're just like your dad. You have this limited idea about you got to work hard to make money, right? Or no pain, no gain. And it's like, oh my gosh, I am. So we truly get a lot of our programming not from us. We did not choose it. So a lot of the most common ones that we might get are you're not good enough, smart enough, you're not lovable, you're not worthy. You know, growing up in a kind of a religious-based environment, even though we may have not been raised that way, there's a huge belief that we, you know, to go to heaven, right, you got to do certain things. There isn't necessarily a belief that you are lovable and intrinsically valuable just being here. So those beliefs keep running forever until they're changed by an experience, or we go in and change it, like with a process like, say, PSYCH-K, which leads to that second one. The second way we get beliefs, and I'm talking also about stored in our subconscious, which we'll talk about later, is when something's emotionally charged, the subconscious takes that for future reference to be able to know how to respond in the future. Okay, so, and here's another really important thing. So like this, think of these times right now, right? There's, and especially if you watch the news, you know, there's an emotional element. And if you are not conscious and in the present moment, you're letting your subconscious just kind of be in charge. And so it's absorbing that. And this is where like advertisers, which I used to work with, they know the psychology of the psyche and the subconscious so well. Watch a drug, you know, commercial, and you'll see the happy faces, the music, as they're telling you all the side effects, which, as you guys know, are direct effects of that particular drug. So it's these emotionally charged events through life that get these beliefs stored in the subconscious to respond in the future. So you look, and that's what gets me really, you know, wanting to do talks like this, especially now with some of the levels of fear that is going on. It just breaks my heart because we'll talk about, I mean, fear can really be detrimental, right? It creates stress, and then it creates compromising of the immune system, that fight or flight, right? Your body doesn't prioritize cell growth, healing, those kind of things, rather than to run from the tiger. And so stress is really detrimental to our health and to stay healthy during times like this. And then same thing, fear. Look at a lot of people are starting to form these beliefs, right? The world isn't safe, or I'm not secure. So it's really important to be aware of what you're exposing yourself to, and especially in those times when you might be emotional or vulnerable. And the real key is that we're going to talk about is that beliefs can be both conscious and subconscious. You could consciously think, oh, I love myself, but you could truly have a different subconscious belief. All right, this just is a diagram that shows you kind of at the age level that we're in this programmable state, you know, that theta state. So here's the other kind of secret one that categorizes beliefs create your reality. So really think about you as a camera, and you put on filters, and this is literally what you're going to see or experience. And you can think about any time when there's been a disagreement. Two people go to a movie, and One person maybe took a film class, so they have a little more understanding. That's their background experience. The other didn't. And one person goes, oh my gosh, that was the best movie I ever saw. The other one goes, are you kidding me? That was terrible. So it's truly that we see the world through our belief filters. And that's what really creates our reality. And I want to give you an example. So I was a competitive gymnast, and that's me, probably about 15, 16 in high school competing. And I competed at Lake Ridge High School over in Lake Oswego, but I also was in a club in Tigard. And my coach told me, and I was 15 at the time, said, you're too fat. And actually recommended that I go to the doctor and get diet pills. So my mom, poor mom, I begged her, right? She didn't know, but literally those diet pills were amphetamine speed. So I pretty much got hooked on that. And then actually, because it built up a tolerance and they weren't working. And I even bought some illegally because my beliefs, it was so important that I had to be skinny. And I'd say it wasn't just for gymnastics, it was for men to love me or boys to love me, because that was the day of Twiggy and the really skinny. And as you could see, I was very muscular. So those beliefs were getting formed, drove my behaviors into where I had eating disorders. I realized speed didn't work because it made me unsteady on the balance beam, right? So I couldn't go that route. So that's what threw me into bulimia first. And then I went and I got accepted into the gymnastic program at the University of Oregon, so which was a top program at the time. And there I am. And my coach said to me, still not good enough, still got to lose weight. And so that really threw me into really more of anorexia. And if you know anything about that, right, and I've worked with anorexic people, is literally what they see in the mirror truly is a distortion of reality. It's you, and I've not been able to. You can't argue, you can't convince, you can't compare with that. That truly is the perception that becomes reality. And at that time, about 10% of anorexics died. So you can see the power of belief that drives our behavior. It can be really, really extreme. So we can change our beliefs, and luckily for me, along the road, I moved to Germany. So it was about when I turned 30, and it was a whole different world. Can you imagine? Where in the US at that time, it was really about being skinny, and in Germany, it wasn't. So that change in perception changed my subconscious beliefs about myself. And I realized people loved me more for who I was than just for my body. And there you can see, I mean, yeah, I'm a lot bigger, but oh my God, I loved my body. So I was good enough. So again, that's a change in perception or change experience, or what we'll talk about later, you can directly go in and change your subconscious beliefs as well. So another area I really want to talk about that's so important is the power of your beliefs and your biology, your body. And many people know about the placebo effect. And let me just see, actually, it's about the placebo effect. And so when patients they get better by ingesting a sugar pill, right? So, and healing is attributed to the patient's beliefs, right? It's a fact. So I've asked many people in the industry, and it's a fact that any drug that gets approved has to surpass a 30% marker that is attributed to the placebo effect. Does that make sense? So yeah, so it's really a powerful thing. But the thing that people don't know about is the effect of, which is called the nocebo effect. Okay, this is the effect of negative beliefs on the body. And, I'm gonna unshare for just a second and talk about this, is that for me, the nocebo effect became very personal. So for example, I've had two major experiences. One was when I was in my 30s, I had fibroid tumors, really serious. And I had surgery on them. They cut them out, cut 7 of them out. Some were almost the size of a golf ball, which is the way they go. We don't know what caused them. We think it's stress, whatever. But you know, the old solution, just cut them out. And then he said to me, he goes, they usually come back in 5 years. Your subconscious mind, especially when it's a doctor or an authority figure, it's like an immediate download into your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind only runs its programs and wants to make whatever its beliefs are come true. So guess where I was 5 years later? I was getting surgery again. And another example was in the corporate world. So when I left the corporate world, it was really kind of a mess, right? I had adrenal exhaustion, that too. But I had also had 4 knee surgeries before, and they were actually caused by overtraining. Overtraining because of beliefs such as no pain, no gain, right? And like in gymnastics, after gymnastics, I became like a runner. Then I became a hardcore swimmer. Then I became a cyclist. You know, I just kind of moved from one thing to the other as part of my identity, a belief in who I was, where I had to stay, you know, fit. And so, so after the 4th surgery, basically the doctor said to me, he said, in 7 years, you're going to need another surgery. And it's going to be a major one on the right knee. So what I did was, I'm like, you know, I want to be walking by the time I'm 50. Really, literally, I had so much knee pain. I mean, I almost couldn't remember when I didn't have knee pain. It already started as a teenager. Just going down the stairs, my knees would crack and crunch and dislocate, hyperextend, all this. So I decided to do yoga. So I got into that hot yoga, and I decided to hang up my bike, you know, because that was more important. So I was doing yoga for 7 years. My body never felt so incredible. My knees were strong, everything. But come 7 years, guess what started hurting? My right knee. Right? My right knee. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. I got to go get surgery. And so I started to look for a surgeon. I had the surgeon from the Portland Trailblazers do it last time. And so I went to find him and found he retired. So I was really bummed, and I was looking around. And then I actually got a book. So I'm going to go back and share my screen again. Let me see if I can, maybe I'll close these participants. Going to share my screen. All right. So, yeah. So, okay. All right. Oops. I think, sorry guys, I think I need to escape out, share my screen again. Didn't like that, keeping you on, whoops, keeping you on suspense. All right, I'm having a kind of a little computer challenge here. So, all right, here, let's try that again. Okay. All right, this is gonna work. All right. PowerPoint. Okay. There we go. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Okay, oh, now we're at the beginning. So here we go. So this comes to a good story. So we're talking placebo effect or nocebo effect with my knee surgery. So I got first the book called Biology of Beliefs from Dr. Bruce Lipton, and I read it, and it's a lot of what I'm sharing here, but it was the power of beliefs. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was that doctor's belief that I would need surgery in 7 years that caused that, you know, knee pain. So he recommended at the end of his book, the process called PSYCH-K. So I went to a workshop in Colorado, flew, got a hotel, everything. And in a couple of days, I learned how to do PSYCH-K and change my subconscious beliefs, which you can do in about 10 minutes or less. And so it's, and I'll explain a little more about that. So I started creating beliefs like my knees are healthy and strong. They heal themselves naturally. You know, I do everything. I love my knees, all that. And it was pretty darn amazing. It was probably less than a couple of weeks and my knee pain went away. And here I am. I kind of spilled the beans. I'm 60, right? And that was back in 2000 or almost 2000 or so when I had the last surgery. So I run up and down my stairs. My knees don't crack. And the key thing is I have beliefs that I keep upgrading to kind of do the right things. So it's, you know, so for example, I got guided to go to my intuition after my subconscious had the belief to go really get into swimming. Then it was Tai Chi. Now it's ballet. And so it really showed me the power of our beliefs. Okay, so now secret number 2 is your subconscious mind is in control. So we have at the top of the iceberg, right, our conscious mind. And I think a lot of you are really working on consciousness, right, which is awareness, which is this ability to try and come in the present moment. The conscious mind is really often our thinking mind. It's the abstract mind, but it thinks about goals and actions. It's also predominantly in the mode of thinking of the past and the future. And the subconscious mind is our habitual mind. It's really the literal mind. There is no wisdom or interpretation. It doesn't know if a belief is a limiting one or a self-enhancing. All it knows is it just needs to run the programs. It runs our programs just like it runs the functions of our body. So cell creation, think about breathing. Do you consciously think to breathe? So 5% of our mind activity is conscious, whereas 95% is subconscious. And it's really interesting when you listen to Bruce Lipton. Boy, I'd go buy that book or check him out on YouTube. He's got some fantastic stuff. But literally they are talking about at least 60% of our thoughts are negative. And it's truly our subconscious that drive beliefs and programs that drive our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions, really creating that reality. It's like a tape recorder, right? It tapes something and it just plays on autopilot, replay over and over in a situation. So this is why you may have tried to change. You set your mind, whether it's to lose some weight, exercise, you know, create a new habit, and you've tried, and then you just can't, right? Or you fail, or you kind of self-sabotage. And that is because of the subconscious mind. It is so much more powerful than the conscious mind to do its job. So the conscious mind is operating at about 40 bits of system, or bits per second. So when you think of the mind as a computer, you got your conscious mind, you have your goals, desires, and wishes, right? And you've got about 40 bits of power that helps you with that job. And the tools that we often use are willpower, positive thinking, affirmations, meditation, or even talk therapy to create change. And then you've got to realize that the subconscious is like our hard drive, right? And it runs those belief programs on autopilot, and it operates at about 40 million bits per second. So that's 1 million times more powerful than your conscious mind. So yes, maybe sometimes you reached your goals when you had limiting beliefs subconsciously, but it probably wasn't a lot of fun, right? Or it was a struggle. So yeah, so thinking about today, kind of with who do we want to be during this time and stuff, maybe it explains a little bit why your subconscious is maybe in some cases not exactly on your side, right? Or it also just explains it wants to keep you in the familiar, right? So that's why when we go to the store and have to do all these different things, it's uncomfortable for us, right? Our subconscious is under stress. And so I want to say it's not your fault, but it is your subconscious. So the key thing is that we want to upgrade our subconscious mind. So secret number 3 is you can reprogram your subconscious mind. And you can do it without hours, days, weeks, or longer of those types of processes. And the reason why those processes take a lot of time, because they're only done at the conscious level. You haven't engaged the subconscious level in its language, right? So it's just, it takes repetition. So I've trained a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, therapists, along with a lot of just people wanting, to improve themselves. And one psychiatrist told me, or several have told me, cognitive behavioral therapy, it's awesome for a lot of insights, right? But it can take up to 200 hours to reprogram a subconscious belief. I also had one of the industry's leading researchers in recidivism in the prison system. I can hardly say that one, right? But it's, measuring how can you keep people that have been in prison out of prison. And the tool that's been used is an old tool for 50 years, and that is cognitive behavioral therapy. And so it's often, of course, not invested to do that for people. So it's really an old paradigm. Those things were not created with the understanding of energy, how everything is energy. And there's this whole new field of energy psychology that understands how energy can be quickly transformed. So I did have a psychiatrist who still sends me some of her patients. She said Psych-K was the most useful tool she ever learned. And that was over 12 years in school. And Carla is another one, and she works with parents kind of in the that kind of the low income area, helping them counseling, stress, abuse, and things like that. And she's using Psych-K in that process all the time. So what's really cool is this process that is used by professionals, but it's so easy that, someone like me or anybody can use it. All right. Oh, the other story I just wanted to share too, is I'll share Nan's and I'll share the other one later, is that I had a gal that just last week, and basically she got diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, and she goes, I know exactly what caused it. And she said, I had this stress around being sued. And so we had a session. We can transform stress, create the beliefs that you want to have, right? So again, we may not be able to control people's behaviors to us or what they do, but we can control our response. And how we can control our response is by controlling or reprogramming our subconscious mind. It truly is like a root cause of kind of stress. Stress is such an interesting thing, right? I don't know about you, but I remember in the corporate world, they were like, I knew I was stressed out, but how do I deal with that? So, I did do some yoga, right? Or maybe it was meditation, but it was kind of like I could create that calm peaceness during that time. But when I go back into the real world, I would get triggered. It's like little, stepping on little mines. And those minds are those subconscious beliefs. And think about the times when, someone might have said something and you snapped at them. I mean, you couldn't even control your response. That is because it's at the subconscious level. And the subconscious level only deals in the present moment. And this explains PTSD, or people, we know the saying of people that have been to war, right? And come back and a car backfires. The association happens so fast. They are right back in that stress. Well, this is happening with us at all levels. It doesn't have to be trauma at that level. It could be like a low-grade infection you almost don't even know you had. I didn't realize the extent to how stressed I was until I left the environment. you know? So again, raising our consciousness, which it sounds like a lot of you're doing, is that really great, is that great first step to recognizing that, doing that. So we're going to go through like 3 myths and facts about changing beliefs. So the first one, if you had a belief for a long time, it will take a long time to change it. The fact is, changing subconscious beliefs is like changing a document in a computer. It's about it doesn't matter if you've had that document for 30 years or 30 days. It's energy, right? And myth 2, changing old behaviors and thought patterns is often difficult and painful. Well, beliefs are just represented by configuration of light photons held in an electromagnetic field. You change the field and you change the belief. Change the belief and you change the behavior or thought pattern. And then finally, you need to consciously know what caused the problem in order to change that. So when dealing with the subconscious mind, becoming consciously aware of the source of the problem is seldom necessary to change most beliefs or behavior. And I see that all the time. People are, well, I think I was abused as a kid or whatever. I'm like, okay, great. And what was the consequence of that? Well, I don't trust people in relationships. I don't feel loved. So you identify that, and what we do in the PSYCH-K process is we immediately go to the goal or belief you want to have. And then we can program the subconscious mind with that to drive a new pattern, a new destiny. So PSYCH-K really is about self-realization, and it's an accelerated transformation. You can change a belief in about 10 minutes. So I think what I'll do, how about I open it up for questions, and then after that, we're going to dive into this exercise, this really cool, creating a whole brain state and paradigm shifting questions. Portland's. So yeah, and definitely keep an eye on my website, yourbeliefsmatter.com. Thanks for that.
I have a question.
Okay, hi.
Okay, hi. So I've done PSYCH-K. I had written to you beforehand, and I'm wondering, because I just recently had a friend here who does PSYCH-K, so I was doing the processes with him. And it seems like sometimes the belief has shifted, but it comes back. Or maybe it's nuanced. Can you speak a little bit to that? That's like a real core belief is I am worthy. So that may have shifted in the past because I know I've worked on it, but it seems like it came up again. So maybe it's worthy around something else. I don't know. I think you kind of probably get what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah, and I responded, and it sounds like you didn't get it, but I'd love to have you. I'm doing a series of Zoom calls that can really debunk that. But
okay.
So to your question it can be multiple beliefs, right? It's not, once you've programmed a belief, it's not like it comes back again or it is unreprogrammed, right? It's like, let's say you've edited a file, a Word document on your hard drive, you've hit the save button. It's not just gonna like go back. It's the same with energy psychology and PSYCH-K. So the thing is, and that's why it is kind of cool to know how to do PSYCH-K, is you change one thing, then you get life experience. So I had someone similarly, they did a goal around I have abundance and prosperity in my life. And she was a real estate working on high-end homes. And then that next week, she had a buyer or a seller, sorry, who wanted to cut her commission, wouldn't take an offer and all that. She was really stressed. And I came back and we basically, I said, well, why do you think that happened? And she goes, well, I think I don't feel worthy, or I don't feel I'm qualified to sell high-end homes, or I don't believe that I can say no. So you see, there's multiple beliefs that can affect an outcome. So it was really cool. We had another session, so we worked on those. And then she went back in and she was like, oh my gosh, I was so calm and peaceful and stuff. So again, our life is a journey, as is our subconscious and what we have programmed there.
Okay. So, yeah. Thank you.
Send me another email and I'll be happy to get you linked up to some of those other trainings.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that again. It's awesome.
12 years ago, I would go out in the world and nobody knew what PSYCH-K was. And I think I probably trained. PSYCH-K is how it emerged. So Rob Williams, the originator, was in the corporate world for 15 years, very frustrated with the world just getting results. Became a therapist for 15 years, was very frustrated with people being in the process without results. And he studied, he studied applied kinesiology, brain gym, touch for health, shamanism, all kinds of ancient wisdom, behavioral sciences. And it came to him in a sequence. So PSYCH-K is a sequence that's a unique process that does use muscle testing to identify subconscious beliefs.
Okay.
You get permission, which is really important. PSYCH-K taps into the superconscious mind, which a lot of processes don't do. And to make sure things are safe and appropriate before we change the subconscious. It uses aspects of neuro-linguistic programming when we need to clarify goals for the subconscious. It also uses brain gym, used to how to create this whole brain state. So I'll talk about that in a minute. So it's a sequence of things. What I liked about PSYCH-K, why it resonated to me, is you identify the problem, you create a solution, a goal, you create a belief statement, a goal statement, and then we step right into the process of reprogramming or aligning the subconscious with your goal. So this is very different than something like hypnosis, which you're kind of at the skill level of the hypnotherapist to really interpret and guide you through things like this. PSYCH-K is really empowering. I never decide what people should believe, right? I help them get clarity on beliefs, create these goal statements so the subconscious mind can understand them and guide them through the process. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Well, does PSYCH-K involve two people, or can a person do it by themselves?
Yeah. We learn it with two, but then at the end of the second day, before the third, we learn how to do self-muscle testing so that you can do it completely on your own.
Okay.
And then when there's a more advanced processes, which actually allow for surrogation, which means, and this is how I do all my remote sessions, or how I could do with family and friends, that aren't here right now, is we can create this kind of link up. It's a very sacred link up with permission protocols that come to it, so that I am doing the muscle testing on their behalf. And if you think of Reiki or remote viewing or any
remote viewing, Reiki, yes.
And I've done hundreds of sessions this way, and they work just as well. So yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I want to say one more thing about PSYCH-K. Actually, after the 3-day training, you're ready. You can use it professionally. So there's no more training. It's an instruction manual or very simple instructions to go through, which is really wonderful. I've actually, again, it can be totally for your own use, but I've seen people start whole new careers like me, right? Like started doing that, at the age of 46, a whole new. And I had a woman, she's 72, and she has now a thriving PSYCH-K business coaching, helping people. So that's one thing I love about PSYCH-K is, yeah, you pay, you invest in the training, but you have everything you need. And after that, you're good to go.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Sweet.
So I have another question. Are you familiar with the emotion codes?
Yeah.
But that also uses muscle testing and deep unconscious beliefs. You say you're only a little bit familiar, so you can't really compare.
It 4 times, and then I trained people who are professional emotion code folks. And it's not the same as emotional freedom technique or tapping. They're a little different, but both are around releasing.
Right.
More key to then, it's like, hey, we're into transformation. So like stress, we transform into something positive, right? So we don't just release stress, trauma, we transform it into a belief that you want to hold. Yeah, and yeah, so that's kind of the big difference. So what I find though is, you know, I've trained people and they use multiple processes, you know, they can be complementary. I've had massage therapists train them and they do one PSYCH-K balance before they give a massage, because they say people come back with the knots in their back week after week after week. And that's because the root cause of that stress, but underneath the stress, a subconscious belief or two or three or so is causing that stress and that knot. And so I think that's like an awesome way to really help people change. I know some health practitioners, acupuncturists, naturopaths, and people also that they're frustrated because people just keep coming back. So yeah. So here's what we're going to do. I'm so excited to do this. So we're, it's called the whole brain state and paradigm shifting questions. So what this is it creates a way to transform energy of fear, doubt, stress, or just being stuck in kind of what you don't know what to do. You know, we aren't reprogramming the subconscious. Unfortunately, we can't do that all in this thing. But what this process will do is give you insights and ideas for creating goals and action. This is one small piece of this really exciting little program I'm going to share with you in a moment. And then I mentioned that, yeah, if you want to learn Psych-K, we got to do that in the message. Okay. All right, you guys. So I have to do the little thing again. I don't know why. Unshare, escape with my presentation. Because it got a little stuck again. All right. Sorry. Okay. All right. Now, all right, here we go. We're going to start from current slide. Excellent. Now we can move on. So first, I just want to tell you where I've used this before. So about 7 years ago, I was teaching in Australia, and one of my dreams was to bring this type of concepts into the corporate world, since I came from there. And I ended up partnering with a strategy consultant who was rebuilding a firm. So we put together workshops, and I was the mindset guru, queen, or whatever you want to call. And so one of the people that we put together a strategy consulting workshop was with Peter Bertels. And he's the CEO of Super Retail Group. They have 7 businesses. And I got to meet him. He actually was willing to experience Psych-K, loved it. But of course, that's not appropriate yet to bring into the corporate world for him. So basically, I created this process to bring in there. So they had a problem. One of their businesses in New Zealand, it was a fishing and sporting goods shop, was the only one that was in the red, wasn't making money. So what we did is we created a paradigm shifting question. And this was going to open up the mind brainstorm. And so their paradigm shifting question was, if we look at our business in New Zealand as a research project, what have we learned? And then I guided them through this creating a whole brain state, which I'll guide you through. And then after we do that, then writing down the responses. So in that case, we probably spent about 15 minutes after we did it and writing down. And it was magical, because when you're in this whole brain state, we filled the room with ideas that they never would have thought of consciously. Because again, if we're like just thinking, sometimes we're just operating from the left hemisphere, right? Where logic is, linear thinking, and not accessing the right side, which is the creativity, emotions, holistic thinking. So that's where I got to really test that out. I've also I was paid as a speaker to this company called Girls, women clothing company that has no sizes. And I did a half a day with their VIPs and walked them through this process. So it's really exciting. So just to refresh the brain, because we're born with a whole brain, right? We're born with both hemispheres of the brain, and they each hold different capabilities, right? So the right side is the emotions, creativity, pictures, freedom, spontaneity, left logic, words, details. So I remember in the corporate world, sitting there kind of on a staff meeting, and my boss would say to me, hey, Joan, can your team take on one more project? You know, just test it out. And, you know, and my beliefs are going nuts subconsciously, right? Oh, I'm a woman. I always get all this. I can't say no. You know, I never get the resources I need, you know? So what can happen is those beliefs trigger over-identification with one hemisphere, and you literally are blocked to accessing the other hemisphere. So this corpus callosum is truly tissue that's a gateway. When we're in a whole brain state, we've got energy going simultaneously across, accessing both hemispheres. That's like being in the flow, right? You know that feeling when you're doing something you love, right? Or in creativity, or, right? That's it. You're accessing both. But in that moment for me, I remember I kind of went, oh, we've really got a lot of work to do. I don't think we can take anything on. And then he goes, well, that's okay, Joan. Just give it a little go. Just take a look at it. I was like furious. I was probably red and everything. I walked out of the meeting. My hemispheres came together, and I was like, I should have said this, that, and the other. I should have said, hey, Bill, we've got these 10 projects. Which one do you want to take off the list? So, and we'll add this one on, right? But instead, I wasn't in that whole brain state. This is what stress does to us. And then those underlying beliefs can do to us. We're just not at our full potential. So the key thing that we know from brain or neurology or brain kind of stuff, science, is that the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body. The left hemisphere controls the right side of the body. So if you can imagine, if I'm my right hand, if I'm touching my left leg, which hemisphere was activated? The opposite one, right? And if I cross the other way over, or if I cross my wrist both at the same time, I've activated both hemispheres. I've created this, we call it phase lock, synchronized brain. I've created this whole brain state. So that's what we're going to be using. So I just wanted to give you the background on that. So the whole brain connection, and this comes from Brain Gym. They have all kinds of exercises you can do. You can do cross crawls, these kind of ear rolls, and in some progressive schools, they're using this with kids. You know, it's really great. I used to volunteer with Start Making a Reader Today, kids in Portland that were first through third grade, and they were a couple years behind their reading. And when I would just have them sit with their ankles and wrists crossed, they could read much better, you know? So what that does is it's a peak brain state, balances the nervous system, reduces stress, heightens creativity and problem solving. Okie dokie. Oh, okay. So here's what we're gonna do. So, and you don't need to see it. I'm gonna guide you through it. So have a piece of paper and a pen ready, okay? And then the first thing we're going to do is you're going to pick a question. So this question is something you just like some insight into. It could be, you know, how do I find more peace in my life? It could be, what is the highest priority for me to change in my life? Or it could even be, you know, a problem like that you're having that you want insight, okay? So everybody just take a second and just write down a question. Okay, and if the question kind of changes as we go along, that's okay. So what's going to happen, I'm going to just tell you up front, and then I'm going to just guide you through it. So what we're going to do is you're going to be sitting with your ankles crossed, and with your wrists, you're going to want to put one wrist on top of the other, doesn't matter. And then you're going to interlace your fingers together. You can either place it in your lap or you can bring it up here. It just needs to be in the midline of your body. Okay? Awesome. So that's what we're going to do. And then in a moment, and I'll start off, we're going to close our eyes, and then I'm going to guide you to repeat your question silently. Just kind of over and over, very gently. You know, if your mind wanders, doesn't matter, come back. Just, we're going to do that about 1 minute. Then I'm going to guide you to say, let go of the question. We'll do that another minute. And then after that, I'm going to say, open your eyes and just start writing down some of your responses. So it's real important that you start writing without talking or anything like that. And we'll do that for a couple of minutes and then we'll share. All right. So here we go. So go ahead, close your eyes. Maybe take a couple of deep breaths. In and out. Just relax, and when you're ready, just go ahead and silently start repeating your question over and over. And then when you are ready, just go ahead and let go of the question and allow any ideas, responses to come. And then when you're ready, take your time, just open your eyes and just start writing what comes to you. There's lots of ways to create a whole brain state, right? Mm-hmm. There's breathing can create a whole brain state. There's meditation can create a whole brain state. One of the things I find really works fast is essential oils. I've also trained myself. It's like the minute I, here it is, the minute I like light my beeswax candle, open up my book, it's almost like it creates that sacred space. So there's many ways to do that. And one thing that I found about what I've just showed you, just in and of itself, is a way to kind of get a more whole brain state wherever you are. So for example, Peter Bertels, he sent me an email after the workshop and after we had finished strategy. He goes, Joan, I was sitting in a strategy meeting, and he said, and I couldn't come up with the answer on direction. So he crossed his ankles and wrists and sat there. And he said it took about 5 minutes, but the answer came. And so, and this is very practical to use anywhere without a question. Like, so, if you've got a big important meeting or right before this call, I was a little butterfly. So I sat in this whole brain, closed my eyes for a minute. I was like, there I am. So it's a really simple tool that one can use. You might not be able to close your eyes. That's okay. That you can use anytime. And then adding this question, again, opening up the brain or the possibilities, questions are the best. And in this workshop that I'm going to do, what we do is we do this more extended. Then we really take some of those ideas and then go through a process of seeing what's really worth wanting or priorities. And then we are going to be doing some PSYCH-K. So I will be having a session and balancing those. The purpose of my life, I've had my career, done all that. It was awesome. I think it really prepared me for this chapter in my life. And I think turning 60 is going to be the greatest chapter of my life. And I truly believe that our transformation is a gift to the world. So what happens is and you guys know this, I imagine, is that we're all connected, right, in this invisible field of consciousness. And today, I don't know, I have days where I start crying. And I think I am truly tapping into this collective consciousness, this sadness that's going on with us, right? So I take my transformation as my top priority. It's like my thoughts, my beliefs feed the collective unconsciousness. It's like it's creating the future for all of us, not just our own life. So I really work hard when, I have those limiting, and I won't say work hard, but I really focus on how to keep training my brain to turn the negative or the limiting thoughts into the positive thoughts, right? Or the self-enhancing thoughts. And I really do believe that our transformation individually is truly that gift. This is how we're going to change the world as we keep raising up our vibration, right? Our own consciousness. And so this is why I put together this program. I mean, this program is for people who really want to take their life to another level, to go deeper. And what we're going to do is I'm going to guide you like step by step in creating this quantum leap. And it's going to be around a topic that you really want to focus. Some it could be health, happiness, purpose, or connection, things like that. And so it's set up in 3 pillars. One is really doing exercise like we just did, but going much, much deeper. And also giving some training on the mind, knowledge is wisdom and power, to uncover those limiting negative, even toxic beliefs, right, that really could be undermining our health and our happiness or our potential, just holding us back from who we could be. So we're really going to go to some root cause. Then we will reprogram the subconscious mind. So I'm going to do a session with each person. So the first week is really preparing, getting clarity on that. And then the second week, there'll be training going on, but I will do a session with each person to transform it. And then the third week, you've got the knowledge, you've got the insight, have the subconscious potential. We're then going to be putting that subconscious into action and really and then there's a lot of things I've learned over the years on how to create effective action, to help people get results, plus an evaluation process of figuring out what is truly worth wanting, or another thing called the 7 whys, which gets down to root desires that are really fun, and we'll do it as a group. So the other thing I'm going to do is each person that comes, I'm going to have them fill out this questionnaire. It's going to be open-ended and closed-ended questions, so I can really get to know the people in it, so I can customize this program, right? And I'll, to meet your needs, but then add on. So thank you so much for I know you guys are you're beams of light. I can just tell. Every one of us has our way, right? That we are out there in the world. And so it is so important, this kind of work, whatever work you do. I can imagine you're all out there just kind of pillars of strength. So it really is an honor for me to share some of the stuff that I've done. And so just remember, that your beliefs matter. Right. And the real first step, right, is again, we got to train this conscious mind and really to go from what we don't want to what we do want. The other really key thing, then I started reading Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. And because that is also a secret, really, I found when I'm truly in the present moment, there is no fear, there is no stress. But that takes practice. Consciousness is in my experience of being the present, that's the conscious brain. It's like riding a bike or learning a skill that we just got to keep doing it. So thank you so much for giving.
Well, I just want to make a couple of comments really quick. One of them is that, when you spoke about the collective consciousness, at a certain level, I truly believe that at this time of kind of heightened anxieties and fears, I think we all should be aware that we're a little bit like sponges. We're picking up on what other people are feeling, right? And not just from the media. I mean, our consciousness is picking up a collective sort of a fear going on right now. So having tools so that people can identify these types of things and work to replace them with a different kind of a thought and or feeling, I think is really important. So that's one thing I wanted to say, and I'm glad that you brought that up about the subliminal, consciousness messages that we're getting, and I think it plays into the fact of we've already had some fear associated with losing our planet, let's just say. You know, we might all be tapping into that, and then along comes COVID-19, and now it's sort of amplifying some sort of subconscious fears, right? About not being in control, these kinds of things. And so I just want to say that I think that your PSYCH-K program is really, really good at helping people identify maybe where their fears are sort of originating from. Because it's not always just you. We may all be picking up on all of this consciousness, subliminal messages, you know, and I'm going to say that, you know, I don't remember when I took your class, Joan, but it did make an impression on me. I still have the manual, you know, all the handouts, and there are times when I maybe feel especially stressed over something, and I'll dig right in. I'll go, oh yeah, that's how she taught us how to unwind this belief and or, you know, get into a different frame of mind. And so I thought it was very valuable, and I do want to thank you for getting on today and giving us a little whiff of what you do and why it's so important to tap into, you know, whatever's going on in your subconscious.
Yeah, it really is. I think we have to really guard the gate, the door to our subconscious mind. You know, we really do, especially in times when there's fear, because again, that's when the subconscious mind is open and receptive. And there's research that shows that when you've had an unexpected shock to the system, which we call stress, the subconscious mind is especially open for 7 days. So again, and I used to work on a crisis line for sexual assault and domestic violence, and I could just see or hear what people had said to them during those moments, right? Oh, you should never have had that beer. It was your fault, right? So boom, right in the subconscious mind, it was my fault. I deserved it. So that's like, again, having that awareness is key. I hope, you know, that's a really great tool and awareness on its own. When you really realize, okay, I'm in an emotional state or I'm stressed, be sure to surround yourself with loving people, right? Or maybe it's not the best time to turn on the TV and watch some commercials or the news, you know. And again, I watch the news very precisely. I don't have it on TV. I will every couple of days go online, go to OPB, you know, public or something, right, to get information. And I do it only not when I'm all rattled, because I can get swept off by, you know, oh my gosh, this many died, you know, and this just doesn't do anybody any good. All right, worry is it's a very misunderstood emotion. Worry, we think we are taking care of people when we worry about them, when what happens to the brain is we actually are not in a whole brain state, we're in fear, so we're less capable to respond and take care of people. So again, worry, oh, I'm so worried. I kind of really watch myself. How would I rather be? You know, I'm concerned or I'm taking action to keep people you know, safe. But I don't worry, just worrying is just doesn't do anybody any good. Yeah.
I'd like to offer that there was quite a bit of very valuable takeaway for me in this discussion. I have been kind of touching on a number of the components of things that you brought up. The one I'm going to talk about is that I appreciate how much you went into the nocebo effect and the examples that you offered of that in your own personal life as it related to your corporate profession, your livelihood. I definitely resonate with that. I have, so I'm not going to go into detail about that, but I just appreciated that because it really brought it into more reality than the other discussions I've been in the past. I also, I want to honor you, Joan, for what you're offering.